there are two really brave stalking victims. We're raising the alarm on the company Tile and how it knew its devices were being used to stalk women and did nothing about it. And even worse than doing nothing about it, they marketed their product as stalking devices. So let's first start with this lawsuit. Gizmodo reported that the two alleged stalking victims filed a class action lawsuit against Tile and its parent company Life360 Monday, accusing the company of failing to implement useful safety features and of mounting advertising campaigns that encouraged stalking. They also accuse the company of tanking the case against their alleged stalker, who they said used Tile to track them relentlessly by failing to comply with subpoenas. So for anyone who isn't familiar with Tile, it's similar to Apple's AirTags, but with a lot less safety features built in. Now it's a small device that you can attach to an object like your keys, so that if you ever lose it or if it's stolen, you can track its location and go find it or recover it. Now, at least that's what it was supposed to be. However, there's really strong evidence that the company was well aware that it would be used for stalking. From that Gizmodo article, from the moment of the Tile tracker's release, Tile marketed its product both explicitly and implicitly for the purpose of tracking people, particularly women. The complaint says, despite having knowledge of the propensity for misuse of the Tile tracker, Tile waited 9 years before implementing any type of safety features on its trackers. Worse still, shortly after the introduction of those safety features, the company released a mechanism by which Tile owners could disable the features, thereby intentionally thwarting any recourse or protection a potential victim might have. Now, there's a lot being alleged in this lawsuit, so we're gonna get into all of it, but let's start with how Tile was used to stalk these two plaintiffs in this suit. So the plaintiffs, Shannon Ireland Gordy and Stephanie Ireland Gordy, say they were stalked and harassed by an ex-lover who used Tile trackers hidden in one of their cars to follow and intimidate them. The alleged stalker followed the pairs on road trips, sent threatening messages, and attempted to cause a car accident, according to the complaint. The alleged victims say they were forced to buy new cars and ultimately move to a new house, which is pretty horrific, but it gets even worse because when the women needed Tile to cooperate to help press charges against the stalker, Tile refused to do it. Now, when the plaintiffs pressed charges against the ex-lover in Houston, where they say the problems took place, police attempted to get information about the defendant from Tile, but the California-based company refused to comply with the out-of-state subpoena. The lawsuit says because Tile wouldn't provide evidence, the case against the alleged stalker was ultimately dismissed, according to the complaint. So these women were unable to get justice because Tile refused to help them. Now, I mentioned earlier, and I think it's one of the more horrifying aspects of the story, that the complaint alleges specifically that the company Tile advertised its product as a stalking device. So here are the details on that. This isn't the first time Tile's been accused of facilitating stalking. Its early marketing campaigns were one cause for concern in the suit. In Tile's first few years of operation, the company advertised its anti-theft tools on websites for porn and erectile dysfunction, among other places, and marketing materials that suggested the products could be used to track women, the lawsuit says. The complaint cites one video ad, which I wish we could show you, but is no longer available online, that features a man attaching a Tile tracker to a bra. According to the complaint, some people explicitly commented on the ads about how useful the products were for stalking. And if that wasn't enough, a 2015 lawsuit filed by a female employee said she was reprimanded for raising concerns that the Tile's marketing campaigns, which exhibited the company's lack of respect for women and view of women as sexual objects. So again, totally mortifying stuff coming out of this lawsuit. This company absolutely needs to be held accountable for increasing violence against women, facilitating violence against women. As I previously mentioned, they have implemented safety features which you're able to disable as the user, so which is distinct from the safety features built in with Apple AirTags. So if you're thinking about getting one of these products, highly recommend that you go AirTag over Tile. But let's get into what minimal safety features they did put in place. After nearly a decade of operating, Tile rolled out its first major anti-stalking tool last year after mounting controversy over safety concerns. The feature, called Scan and Secure, lets you check if there are any Tile trackers nearby. However, because Tile says its primary purpose is theft prevention, you have the option to disable the anti-stalking tech, presumably so would-be thieves don't know they're being tracked. To disable the feature, you have to provide Tile with an ID and agree to a $1 million fine if you use a Tile product for stalking. Because sure, all you need is them to raise their right hand and promise they won't stalk someone. Because as we all know, stalkers are notoriously good for their word. But just to draw that distinction between the safety features, the comprehensive safety features Apple has built into AirTags that for some reason Tile just refuses to integrate from that article. Like Tile, Apple's AirTags are marketed as a tool to help you find keys and lost items. They do, however, start beeping if the AirTags are separated from their users for extended periods of time, a feature meant to help stave off stalking. If your phone detects an AirTag traveling with you that isn't paired with your device, it sends an alert to your phone. Apple also partnered with Google to bring the same stalking detection to Android. That hasn't stopped people from using AirTags for stalking, and Apple is the subject of its own AirTag stalking lawsuit. The safety features are far more robust. Jackson, oh my God. When I was reading this Gizmodo article to prep for producing the story, it was like every new line was a fresh hell of how this company is just truly uniquely evil.
Yeah, a few things. One, I think this is a beautiful case study against laissez-faire capitalism, against the idea that the free hand, the free hand of the free market will just do the right thing. People will just be rational and do what they should. No, people won't. Actually, people often will be lazy and cut corners. And this is a great example of that. Because as you pointed out, there's many other practical uses for the technology. And it goes without saying that they would have had a much stronger and longer future ahead of them. They would have had a better brand, and they wouldn't be in any of this mess if they took the necessary steps. Well, one, to not advertise themselves like creep tech, basically, it's just creep tech. And also to step in and do something about it, that they're getting these reviews and that this is now being attached to basically their name. But they were just lazy. I guess they were making enough money. And so they said, screw it, whatever. I don't know if, whoever started, because oftentimes when people start companies or businesses, it's not necessarily a passion project. It can just be an idea or some money came together and people did it. So I say that to say, this doesn't strike me as a company like of the people who are in the executive positions, like they just really care about this. This strikes me as people who are just making money and being lazy. And, as you point out, women go through a lot of crazy stuff, and every once in a while, most women, sorry, they're cutting grass out here, but a lot of women have at least one man in their history that was pretty nuts. You know what I'm saying? Like who stalked them for years in some type of way after the relationship ended, or much worse. So for them to aid in that and assist in that, there's no excuse for it. And all the years that they did it, they're just being lazy. That's all it is.
Right, and we'll keep an eye out as this lawsuit develops, hoping that these women are successful. The claims, the things they allege in the lawsuit, truly despicable, and they already once didn't get justice for the stalking that they had to endure. So hopefully this lawsuit turns out differently when they tried to press charges, and Tile literally stopped them from being able to do that.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.